But the Bears game.
Oh Lord,
JD, I want to get your initial. You being the Bears fan, I want to get your initial thoughts, on the Bears game.
Oh my God, man! Frustration is the first word that comes to mind. Confusion too, a lot of confusion. I was defending Matt Nagy for like months, dude. I've been defending him for months. I've been sitting here like, oh man, Matt Nagy, he's a great coach. He brought us to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. You know, people are always trashing him, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I had nothing but good things to say about Matt Nagy. And then he pulls this shit. Like, what the hell was that? I don't even know what the hell that was. I mean, the play calling, I feel like he was pretending. That Andy Dalton was like, I don't even know who thought Andy Dalton was. He was trying to make these throws that I just don't see Andy Dalton ever making, even whenever Andy Dalton was with the Bengals, right? This is the best Andy Dalton I can remember. He had these big receivers. They would kind of do these hook routes. He'd have screens. There'd be a good, strong running game. What I saw was not the Bengals of like the 2010s. That wasn't the Bengals. That was like, I don't even know what that was. That was like an air raid offense or something with a little bit of mix of like option, or there's so many different things that I saw, and that's not what Andy Dalton is. You know who is that type of quarterback though? And we actually have him on the roster. It's weird. And he actually played a little bit and scored a touchdown. Weird. It's crazy. His name's Justin Fields. He's sitting on the bench, and we saw a little bit of him. And then he looked really good, and then they just take him out. It's just the weirdest thing. I don't understand. It was so strange. It was just strange. It was the worst Andy Dalton I've ever seen, period. It was worse than when he was with the Cowboys. Anytime with the Bengals, it was awful. I don't know who Matt Nagy thinks Andy Dalton is, but that's not him.
Jake, what are your initial thoughts on that game?
what the hell was that? Oh my Lord! You know, it was weird because
it was bad. It was bad, like bad.
But you know what, though? I'm not completely surprised because of the fact of this is exactly what the type of performances you're going to get out of beige water pistol majority of the time. So it's like it's just that, and I understood what the process was with, you know, the Bears, because first of all, you're trying to groom up Justin Fields the best way possible, and I just truly think that right now with the way that the Bears are looking, you might as well just throw him out there. You might as well, because this is the funny thing. All five rookie quarterbacks this week scored touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's the only one I have a serious concern with that Bears offense, because at that point, somebody's not executing their job. The other worst part is, this is how bad you see that they're desperate for Kyle Fuller. They miss him, because at that point, how does Cooper Kupp get wide open all the way downfield? Somebody miscued in the backfield. And then there's times where Robert Woods would end up getting open. And, you know, it was just a tough game for them.
Like crap.
Yeah, Eddie Jackson was not.
Hey, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, JD. Believe me, I got some stuff I just want to feed you and get your instant reactions on.
Who is Eddie Jackson?
So let's stick to Fields for now.
All right, sorry. All right.
Once again, you and all of the Bears Nation everywhere get a little taste of what a Justin Fields offense would look like, and it's
we're not going to the Super Bowl, so just like our team sucks. Like, the offensive line sucks, the defensive line sucks, the secondary sucks. We're not going to the Super Bowl. Put Justin Fields in there, let him fail until he's good, and then we'll be a good team again. I don't understand what the logic is anymore. Like, at first I thought, okay, you put Andy Dalton in, but if you're not going to be conservative as hell when he's in there, if you're not just going to run the ball, which they did, okay, I'll give him a little credit. Montgomery played well. The inside interior line. I just think that you might as well do it at this point. You already teased it.
You kind of took your interior line, center and both guards played really, really good. The center and both guards played very, very well. Montgomery ran between the tackles really well. He had 108 on the ground.
He was good
for Montgomery. And he was by far, I think, one of the best players on the field for Chicago.
Well, and then you might as well, if you're going to have him run, you also might as well have Justin Fields, because then you're having, I don't know, there's just things that I feel like Matt Nagy made a promise to Andy Dalton, and he's taking that. And I get promises are important, but I think he's putting the promise over his like actual job, and he's not looking at the performance. And the performance matters, dude. Like, I don't care if I promise an offensive lineman, oh, you're the starter, man. If you suck and you just let him get sacked every time, you're going to get replaced, period. I don't care what I said.
You want to know what the funny thing of it is that even when I looked at that offensive line was horrible. I thought they would have looked much, much better than this.
I did too.
That's part of the reason why you probably want Fields out there to run out of those pressures.
So here's what I took out of the offensive line from Chicago. Like I told you, the interior of it played very well. Your center and both guards,
Cody Whitehair, and
played very, very well. Both guards and the interior linemen were not the problem. It was around the edges. Your tackle play in that game was terrible. They were awful.
We just cut somebody. I forgot who. Or something. Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah. So the offensive line not good. Now, there wasn't a lot of good coming out. Like, so the good point is that once again we kind of alluded to it earlier. We got a little Bears fans everywhere got a little taste of what that offense would look like if Justin Fields was running it, and it looked pretty good. And the other thing too that you could clearly notice, even though it was a very, very small sample size, Dalton looks lost when it comes to pocket awareness and being, just he doesn't look comfortable in a pocket anymore. And like we talked off camera, off show, JD, that if you know that like you're not going to be able to compete, and making the playoffs is a long shot, you know exactly what you get with Andy Dalton. He's been in the league long enough where you know what you're going to get out of him. You know what he is, what he brings to the table, what he's capable of, where his ceiling is. With Fields, you think you have an idea of what you can do with him, what the offense looks like, how you could use him. And you said it perfectly. If you know, like if you know you're not gonna if you know you're gonna struggle in the division, you might as well give the kid a shot and kind of trial by fire and let him learn and let him take his lumps on the fly and just go with it.
Look at Justin Herbert. They had the worst or second or third worst offensive line in the league, and Justin Herbert came out there. Last year, and he played really well. He was a rookie. And people talked crap about him in college too. They say, oh, he's not this, he's not that, he's not doing this. And he comes in, lights the league on fire. So far, every single time Justin Fields gets in, he looks like he's about to light the league on fire. And then Matt Nagy's like, no, stop. I need to put it in my red rocket.
I remember people did the same thing they did to Herbert to Fields. They talked down the pick. They were questioning whether Herbert's style of play would translate. Would they be able to translate it because of the Chargers, weak points, the O-line, but Herbert made it work. Herbert made it work, and he absolutely tore it up. So,
like I said, quarterback rating of 99.6 under duress, in a terrible offensive line like that definitely shows you. Like, think about it this way. I mean, hypothetically, you look at certain situations where you deal with chaos. If this kid could literally do it with this much chaos, imagine what he would look like with a more stable, a much more stable structure and even a much more stable management. That's where I think that comes down to when you look at Justin Fields and this offensive line. If Justin Fields, like right now with an offensive line that's allowing pressures to come in, they're not executing their blocks, and Andy Dalton, I agree with you. The fact that he is a pocket type quarterback but can't run out of the pocket for nothing, that's where I think you're starting to see that of where they really need to make that initial move. And that's where Matt Nagy cannot afford to be conservative, because if he's much more conservative this year with his play calls, there's going to be a reason why he'll be on the hot seat too, along with Ryan Pace.
Oh yeah, they'll crank the heat up on him. Absolutely.
Exactly. So at the same time, when it came to, Justin Herbert and Anthony Lynn was very conservative. And I keep saying, execute the plays and get aggressive. Why are we continuously playing safe way? Because that never works. That never worked against Tampa. That never worked against New Orleans. And it certainly never worked against New England. That's where I'm like, they got to stop getting conservative with this. Let him loose. Let him see exactly what the potential he has around him. And because I guarantee you, him and Allen Robinson will click. So
no doubt.
Give him those opportunities.
I think Fields is like literally the only chance that Matt Nagy even has left anymore to keep his job. Because at this point, I was the one defending him like a few weeks ago. And at this point, though, I would have rather had Nick Foles out there, because at least I know what Nick Foles is and what he's not. And I think that Nick Foles, there's a few down the field throws that I think Nick Foles would have made, and I don't think Andy Dalton can make. And that's the thing. If you're not good in the pocket, you're not a good thrower, and you're a statue in the pocket, what are you even there for? You're literally just a name that was good 6 or 7 years ago. Like, I don't want a name. I want someone who's going to be good now. And also, when I say that he's the only chance left for Matt Nagy's job, this is the way I see it. If Fields doesn't work out in the next 2 or 3 years, they're definitely going to get rid of him. For sure. No question. So you might as well just go all in and say, all right, Justin, you have my job. You have Ryan's job. And the thing is, I'm not looking forward. I don't want to get rid of Matt Nagy at all. I want it to work out, because I don't want to go back to the John Fox days. I don't want to go back to the what was his name? Tressman. I don't want to go back to those days anymore. I actually like Matt Nagy. I actually want this to work out, but I feel like he's screwing this up. I feel like it's pretty obvious. We all know what needs to happen, and he just doesn't want to go back on his word. And sometimes you kind of talk yourself into a corner, and that's not good, because this is the point where it's like, it doesn't matter what you think. This is what needs to happen. We need to put him in. And I actually agree. I think if he's not in by week 4, I'm going to start calling for his job. Just saying.
Let's transition from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball for Chicago. Oh god. They struggled big time on the defensive side. Their pass rush took about 3 quarters to wake up. And by that time it was too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, so the slow pass rush they woke up about midway through the third quarter, finally. And the next point I was going to ask you, JD. So the pass rush being slow to kind of get going, and on top of that, I think Khalil Mack was running all over the field trying to do way too much than what he's normally asked to do. And the back end of it, Jackson specifically played hard. They ate him up all game long. So what do you think on those points?
You want to go first, Jake?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I mean, that's ultimately where, like I said, there were a lot of struggles that were happening within that secondary. And at the same time, I mean, Eddie Jackson was not playing his best. It clearly shows that Chicago was missing Kyle Fuller a bunch, because that was going to be your other shutdown secondary player that could have really, took down a lot of those passes. And it was surprising to me, because the only team that has faced Matthew Stafford several times within their division that you'd think they'd know, because at the same time, we didn't even see Stafford take snaps with the Rams team, not even in preseason. So it really questioned me. I wasn't sure how we were going to see Stafford perform, but I think it clearly shows. Has a better O-line, has a lot of better weapons, and is trustworthy when it comes to throwing the deep ball downfield and scoring big-time points. But that's where I think the rest of the Chicago's defense really needs to start to button up. I mean, everybody has to end up, stepping themselves up, because a defense like Chicago's that I thought would have been just fine clearly shows that there's still some holes that they need to fill in order for them to be that shutdown type defense they were.
I have no idea who Eddie Jackson is anymore. I don't even know who this man, like, I don't know, like, who's replaced him. Like, this is a case of mistaken identity. This guy was one of the greatest.
What have you done with Jackson?
League.
Who is this guy and what have you done with Jackson?
Who is this? Like, I'm unaware of this person. Like, it seems like we got rid of Fuller and we lost two guys. We lost Fuller and Jackson. We got rid of Fuller. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if they just had really good chemistry and then Jalen Johnson, he's just not getting it. I don't know what it is. And I couldn't tell you. And it's very unfortunate for Jackson because he was about to get a lot of money, I think. And that's very, very unfortunate. And it's just one of those things where, I don't know if we have the talent on the back end to even compete this year for the division. We had a golden opportunity here to steal one. We really did, especially if we would have started Fields. And we couldn't really, like you said, we couldn't even sniff Stafford. Sniff him. Like, he wasn't even close to him. And then I think Hicks started to get to him at the end, but at that time, game was out of reach, and it didn't really matter.
By the time the Bears pass rush woke up, it was too late.
So it's just, it's a sad story. We do have an easier schedule going forward. The week one was pretty hard, but I just don't know if that's how we look every week. Is lost. There's, like, as you said, if we just look lost every week, then it's gonna be a long season for Chicago fans. It's gonna be real bad.
Now,